This is Diane Barrett from the BE Collection. It's May 18th, 2021. I'm interviewing Lauren Lee Lloyd. Were you named after someone?
No.
No, it's just an original name.
Yes.
Okay, good. So I'll start with some simple questions like, where were you born?
I was born right outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in a town called Mount Lebanon.
Mhm.
I was there and then I went to college right by there too in Pittsburgh. So I was in that area till I was 20.
And for the purpose of this interview, what would you state as your primary occupation or occupations?
I would say that I am a movie and television producer, and I also have a CBD company called Sisters Botanicals.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And is that your newer venture?
Yes, I've been doing that for about a year and a half now.
What made you interested in starting that?
In the CBD?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I would say because I knew the benefits of CBD as far as pain goes, and sleep and skin, and I used to use it when I was making movies, a lot of movies. I used to use it for my actors, especially my young actors. They'd come in hungover, give them a little CBD cocktail, or their skin be crazy looking. So, or my stunt guys would be very, full of pain, and so I would hook them up with CBD. And then in 2018. It was legalized. There's no, it's no longer considered like, heroin. So, yeah. And I knew that people need help. People can't sleep and they're full of pain and they're anxious and depressed and have so many autoimmune problems. So, yeah. And it makes me happy to do it.
Mm-hmm. I can understand that. So tell me about your acting career. Did you start out as an actor? How did you become interested in it?
Oh, well, I always was putting on little shows.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was very young, I would listen to that song "Tiptoe Through the Tulips" by like some weird Al, whatever, some weird guy. And I would put on little shows and then I would charge money. So I was interested in the show part and the money part. So I eventually stayed with the money part and stayed a producer. But yeah, I did some acting. I cast a lot of Dennis Hopper movies. And so I played Jodie Foster's best friend in a movie, and I was horrible. And Dennis told me I was horrible. So that was pretty much, I'm not going to do that anymore. But I wanted to become a producer. I wanted to make my own stories, tell my own stories, mostly about girls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How old were you when you first did your first performance?
Oh, my first performance, like as a real actor getting paid?
No, just as a child.
Yeah. Oh my goodness sake. Maybe fourth grade.
Uh-huh.
Fourth grade. I guess I was always an entrepreneur. In fourth grade, I had my own newspaper too. Mm-hmm. I wrote it all by hand, and I would talk about the neighborhood and all the people in the neighborhood. And yeah, and I realized that if I wrote about certain people, they would pay me more for the newspaper. So I was like, oh, Miss So-and-so got a beautiful new haircut. And then, so anyway, my first acting, I think, was probably around then.
Do you have any people in your family that were in this business that inspired you?
No.
Huh.
Yeah, that's a far reach, because my family wanted me to be a lawyer. And I thought, that's not going to happen.
You've done both. Now you know that.
But yeah, it's not.
So then you went through high school. Were you still performing?
Oh yeah, I was acting in high school. We had a really great theater program, really advanced. And we had like movement classes and voice classes. It was quite advanced. Uh-huh. And so I was very, very involved with theater in high school.
Was it a public or a private high school?
Public, Mount Lebanon High School.
Really good.
Yeah, it was very unusual.
How about your siblings? Were they involved in this process? No.
No, not at all.
Huh. And your parents?
Nope.
No.
No, I was the, weird one.
Well, outstanding. Try that one.
I was the outstanding one.
So in high school, then did you look to a college that would, prepare you more for your potential career?
Oh, yeah. I went to Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh also, and it's one of the few schools that had a professional theatrical training program. So I got my bachelor's in fine arts.
Mhm.
And that was also costume design, production, period style and form, movement, singing. We weren't taking math or, world culture. It was all, theater focused.
So you like that?
I did. Yeah. But I wanted to be on the tennis team and they wouldn't let me. It distracted me from the theater. So
Really?
they were very strict.
Sounds
Yeah,
like.
I did love it.
Uh-huh. So when were you aware of your sexual preferences?
Oh, I was very interested in sex, like early on. I had boyfriends like at an early age, like 14, 15. And I didn't know I was gay until when I was in college, Carnegie Mellon. All my teachers would say, go and explore, go and have experiences that you've never had, sleep with everyone, travel the world. And I thought, sleep with everyone? Oh,
They said that. Wow.
well, okay. And so I slept with my best friend, who's a Tony Award-winning actress at this point. And I was like, oh, well, I never thought I'd stop sleeping with men. I just thought I would add that for the experience. And then I never
So a woman would be an additional thing that you did. Excuse me. So you slept with women as an adjunct to the male sexual.
Wait, say that again, because it's a little fuzzy over here.
So the sleeping with a woman was just an adjunct to your male sexual activity?
Well, it was supposed to be just an experiment so I could have broader horizons in my theater world. But when I slept with a woman, I was like, oh, this is a whole different gig. This is fabulous.
Mhm.
And I never started off by thinking that I'd never sleep with a man again. I just never did sleep with a man again. And that came as a surprise to me.
I remember in the 8th grade, Sister Ignatius said, dare to be different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think
talking to me.
Yeah. Yes.
So it was amazing that faculty encouraged that.
Oh yeah, they were just like, go out there and stir it up, do everything you can, because it's the experiences that you have that help you tell your stories. So yeah.
So at that point in your life, was there any particular person that became a mentor for you that you carry with you today, kind of thing?
Well, I had a mentor and I didn't really realize it when I was in high school. Her name was Kay Miller, and she was a teacher, a theater teacher. She was, there was 2 teachers. She was like the beginning teacher, with theater games and all. And she really took a liking to me, which was very flattering. And she was very helpful to me, I don't even know if I can describe how she was helpful. I just knew that she liked me, and I knew that was going to help me get through just the difficulties of being in high school. But the thing that was interesting is that when I made my first movie, Mermaids, I came back to Pittsburgh to have the premiere. Okay. And I invited her, and she came. And then when we sat down and talked, and this is the part that blew my mind, she said, I recognize myself in you. And I was like, oh,
what does that mean?
Well, she told me. She said that I was incested as a child, and I could tell you were too. And I was like, what? How did you know? So there was something that she picked up on me, and however she helped me, it's hard for me to describe. She was super, super helpful. Yeah.
Did you stay in contact with her until Mermaids?
No, not at all.
So you just invited her when you were there?
Right. Because I remember her, and also the other Julian Temple. Julian Meyer. Ooh, I forget his name. He was the other teacher, and I invited, but he didn't come, but she did. And I was honored to have her there and proud. Yeah.
Think she was a lesbian?
No.
No.
She was just a really interesting woman, full of energy, just
Uh,
so physical, and I just really liked her.
Great. So you had a commonality, a painful one.
Hmm?
You had a painful commonality.
Yes,
Right.
I didn't realize how common it was,
Mhm,
or that it's actually kind of weirdly noticeable in people's actions and the way they talk, and
mhm.
you can sometimes pick it up.
That's true.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Now, when you say that's true, I know it's true.
Right.
Yes, I do.
Don't question me.
I do not question you.
So then after college, what was your next step?
After college, I thought, well, oh yeah. After college, I got this job in Massachusetts, in Stockbridge. It was with the American division of the Royal Shakespeare Company, and it was at an old home that Edith Wharton used to have. And it was a huge mansion, and we were all in there. And I found out this is what living's about.
Uh-huh.
We had all the actors and the directors from all around the country, and we would do Shakespeare in the Round outside. And I thought, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. So I did that, and then I thought, I really want to go to Hollywood and tell stories.
Mhm. Were you in a relationship at that time with a woman?
I did. Oh yeah, I did. I had a relationship then, and she was also got a job there at Shakespeare and Company, but it wasn't a good relationship. She had a big drinking problem, and I was just a crazy nut. I was.
You were maturing.
I was immature for all the freedoms that I had in my life. I was like, wee. So, yeah.
So then you came to California.
And then let me think. Yeah. It was in '81. I came to LA with a girlfriend.
Mhm.
We broke up, but
Did you drive or fly?
we drove
You
across
drove.
the country.
Uh-huh.
Yes, with my little Siamese cat, Ping,
Huh.
who meowed the whole way.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, and I sent out resumes to everybody that I could find.
Mhm.
But here's one thing. Here's one thing is the strategy, which we had talked about before, was I had to always figure out ways. I thought, look, I'm nobody. I'm not the common person you're going to find in Hollywood, which is a Jewish white male with a baseball cap backwards and tennis shoes on. I wasn't that. So I knew I had to do things outside of the box. So my thought was, well, how do I meet these famous people in Hollywood so they'll go like, you're great, I'll give you a job. And then I thought, well, these people drive really nice cars. So I'm going to sell cars to these people, and then they'll say, you're great. I'll give you a job, And so I didn't have a car. So I walked down the street near at Room and BMW. And it was tough because they didn't hire women then or girls. So I would walk down there every day and offer them food and say, hi.
Would you actually bring the food?
I would. And I was like, damn, I hope I can afford this. But every day I'd walk down, it was about half a mile. And I'd say, I brought you food. Is today the day you're going to let me sell cars? They'd be like, get out of here. And then one day they said, okay. And I sold a car.
The first day you were there?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah. But I was also like, can you give me a discount? The person would say, and I'd be like, I don't think so. I'm not really sure. But anyway, and I sold a car to an agent, Chris Barrett, who I'm friends with still today. And he said, oh, you should, come over. And I know a woman who's a casting director and she needs some help. And I said, well, what kind of a car does she drive? And he said, Peugeot. So I thought, I'll sell her a car. Because I didn't really know what a casting director was.
Right.
Like in the theater, as a director, actors come in, there's no there is now, but there was no casting director that would like organize people. It would just be like an open call and people would come in and you'd meet them. So for a casting director, that's a whole different business. You know all these actors and agents and you say they may be right for this part and you call them in and then they read. So I learned quite a bit there.
So
yeah, but that's my first job.
Stop there. Since this is educational, our endeavor, and inspirational, what is a casting director?
Casting director is someone who they make a budget based on the cost of each actor for each part. Okay, like the lead actor will be $5 million, and so they have to break it down like that. They also say, then they go to the director. The director is the person that is the visual person who puts it visually together and tells the actors what to do on set. But the casting director will say, okay, we need a 30-year-old, very, very short blonde man, who speaks Spanish. So the casting director goes like, okay, well, who do I know? Then they'll make a list of who they think are the top for that role. And then they'll call different agents and say, I've got this role. Who do you think's right? Agents will then send in pictures and you look at them and you go, this could be good. This could be good. So they take who they think are the best actors for a role and they give the script to those actors. Or the scene they're going to read, and then you bring them in, sit them down in front of the director, and they read the part, usually with the casting person. And
how would a woman who's interested in being a casting director, how would she prepare herself for the job and then get the job?
Well, she should first of all, she should love actors. Okay, because you got to love actors to do this job, because actors are a pain in the ass, but they're great.
So how do you love them? How do you find the lovable parts?
Actors are great. They're just young, they're young spirited. They're childlike in a way that they're like, so you have to love actors, and you have to have a good sense of who these actors are. What do they bring to the table? Do they bring darkness or anger, or do they seem like someone you just have to understand people. You have to be able to speak about people, like this person, is very urban, or to get that part or to get that job, you'd want to apply to different casting directors and work as an intern, most likely.
Okay, so then you say, I have no experience, but I'm interested.
Well, you say, you know what, I have no experience, because this is an important thing to know.
Right.
We didn't come out of the womb as casting directors or as teachers or as mechanics. You have to learn. So you have to, if you have a good idea of if you're being interviewed by a casting director, they'll probably say who are some of your favorite actors? Okay. And then they'll be like, oh, Tom Cruise. And the casting director will be like, yeah, okay, who else? And so you start talking about actors, just like, how you talk about books or movies, and you just say, what's your favorite movie? And then someone says something and you're like, I love that movie. Then you think, oh, we have a similar taste. So if you can speak the language of actors, you can eventually get a job as a casting director. You know what I mean? Or you can say, you know what, I really love this type of actor in this show. Or and it's also good to say, to know yourself, to know if you like comedies or if you like drama. So if you work with a, casting director that only does horror movies and you don't like horror, it's probably not the best combo.
Connection.
Yes.
Right.
Does that make sense as far as
right. I'm just trying to think of someone, say, they love movies, they'd like to be in the business, but they don't know how to get there. And maybe a casting director is a good position to start. But what preparation do they need besides liking movies and liking actors? How do they sell themselves?
How do you sell yourself?
Right.
That's the question. Everyone says, how do I get in the business? How do I meet people?
Yeah.
You can sometimes go to different agencies like UTA, United Talent Agency, and sometime online they'll have openings for beginning level jobs.
So having some experience at an entry level position could make you credible.
Yeah, because basically what they're going to say is, can you handle phones? Do you know how to work the computer? And then you start building a rapport. Eventually you'll bring in a picture. You'll say, oh, I saw this movie last night. There's an actor in it that's so interesting. And then the casting director is going to be thrilled that you're going to bring them new ideas, because casting directors can't know everybody.
So don't hold back.
Pardon?
Don't hold back. The person shouldn't hold back.
Yeah, not in the beginning. Yes, you go, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Anything you want, I will do. Faster, I'll do it faster. Smilier, I'll do it smilier, because the jobs are hard to get.
Be accommodating. Accommodating.
Yeah.
That's not always easy for lesbians. Have you noticed that? Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's also interesting when I started out. Pardon?
You're guiding them to say, you can do this.
Yeah.
But they have to put themselves aside, some of their personal development skills, like not being accommodating. can
Well,
be
you
on
just,
hold.
because the people in the entertainment business who have made it up there, we are all very, we want to be taken care of. Yes, we
Okay.
want the coffee and the sandwich perfectly done. So all
Okay.
those stories you see in here are true.
Okay.
There's a certain arrogance or whatever that people have when they become successful in this business. Yeah. And a certain neediness, you just want to be taken care of.
Okay. So you really appreciate that person.
Yeah, there's one thing that I did learn when I started, this is in the 80s also, is that they would say, well, can you get coffee? Can you type? And I'd say, I can do anything you want. But if I were a man, what would you ask me to do? And they'd be like, ha ha.
We wouldn't ask him.
Like, what would you ask me? And they'd be like, do this. And I'd say, I can do that too. Because I knew that I didn't want to be a typing person. I wanted to be a person who made decisions, so yeah.
Okay, so then you were a casting director and you moved into thinking maybe you could be a producer.
Well, I got fired a lot.
Did you?
Yeah.
How come?
Well, that's a good question too.
Mhm.
I got fired because I saw more opportunities than the person I worked with and saw. And I think they were just like, get out of here. Like, why are you?
I didn't want you necessarily to have that opinion.
Well, I got fired actually once because when I was reading, as a casting director, you read the parts for the actors, with the actors in front of the director. And one of the directors wanted to hire me for a role, and that was no good. And then, but yeah. So after that, I thought, oh, I want to get into a studio and really learn what it's all about, like from the big business point of view, like who do they do business with? How do you put a movie together? How do you do all this? But anyway, I went to my friend before that because I'd always have ideas. They weren't like, oh, go in the front way and knock on the door and say hello. It was always like, you know what I'll do? I'll do blah, blah, blah. And I'll go around the back way and I won't let anyone know. It was always covert. Yeah. But I was friends or acquaintances with another casting director. Her name is Wally Nasita. And she's about 11 years older than me, super smart, super well connected, and she had discovered, let's say, it was Michelle Pfeiffer, Kevin Costner, that era, Matthew Broderick. She had discovered all of them. So she had very direct personal relationships with actors. So I thought, oh, well, I could find a script. I didn't really know how to, but I felt I could through certain ways. I'll get a script, she'll get the actor, and someone will give us money. And so that's what I proposed to her. And I was super nervous saying this to her because it seemed so presumptuous.
Had you come across each other's paths before?
He was across the hall. We were both trained by the same casting director, Marion Doherty. And Marion always picked a very certain kind of person. We all looked the same. We all were blonde women, kind of waspy. It was just what she chose. And so that's so weird to think about that now, talk about diversity. Anyway, so I presented this to her. I was like, Wally, so here's what we're going to do. You know all these actors, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to get these scripts, put them together. People will give us money. We'll become producers. We can tell our own stories. She said, that's a great idea. And I said, and I'll be your associate. Because I thought that sounded better than assistant. Assistant's just
Absolutely.
Like, what?
Right.
Yeah, and she said, no, we'll be partners, 50-50. Wow. And I almost fainted. And I was like, okay, bye-bye. And you run out. You don't want her to change her mind. And so that truly changed my life. I mean, that was just an amazing opportunity. And Wally didn't really have the sight about how you do it, but she was like a heat-seeking missile. So I'd say, call this person and do blah, blah, blah. And then she'd do it. And we were really successful, which was
fun. Sounds like fun.
It was so much fun because she's really funny and we had a great time together. A great time. I think we were partners for maybe 8 years.
A long time.
I think, yeah. We made, I don't know, maybe 6 movies. Yeah, and then we parted ways.
How come?
Um, well, I wanted to again expand. I was like, we were doing my very first movie was Mermaids with Cher, Winona Ryder, and Christina Ricci, and it was very much like, you have to be like a mom on the set. You have to make sure everyone's happy, that people are telling you all their problems, and you're trying to address some of them. Well, Cher had a lot of questions, and we were having a lot of trouble with our director, and I was frightened. I was like 28 or something, and I was frightened. I was like, whoa, Cher's got problems. So I would call Wally up, and she'd be like, I'm not going to hold her hand. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, no, we have to hold her hand. We have to become this kind of a thing. And we weren't jiving anymore. So she got some deal with Kevin Costner, and then I weirdly got a job as a studio executive. And I was also, and I really wanted that job.
While you're doing this thinking, were you out as a lesbian?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you advise that?
Advise it?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I mean, everybody, this is so far back when I literally, in the beginning, I was afraid that I'd get a knock in the middle of the night and it would be the police saying, ma'am, you can't be in your house anymore. And I'd be like, what? And they'd be like, you're a lesbian. You're coming with us. Because life is awesome.
Well, you're such an entrepreneur.
Yes.
I mean, you were that way when you were a child.
Yes.
That's part of you.
Yeah.
Very good. So now you and Wally have split your relationship.
Yes.
And you're on your own. Are you on your own?
Well, I knew I wanted to be a studio executive, and I wasn't sure how to go about doing that. Mm-hmm. So what I did was and I knew some of the studio executives, because you have to make movies, you have to be involved with them. And a studio executive is like an in-house producer. You find projects and you make them for that studio.
Sounds like you were doing that before you were doing the job.
Well, yes, yeah. But I never made a movie with Disney. But I found out who were the executives there, and I did some research to find out who's got the ear of the hiring person, of the president of the company, who's willing to be like, yeah, you're a lesbian, that's cool. Do you know what I mean? I had to figure out who's the person I'm going to like bump into, So I found a guy, Danny Halstead, and he was like, yeah, come on in and meet everybody. So I was pretty excited about that. And I told them that I was a lesbian at that meeting. It was with Jeff Katzenberg. It was with, big people. Right. And they said, oh, that's why we're interested in you. And I was like, get out of here, really? And they said, yeah, we want different voices at the table. And I was just like, well, great. So they hired me, and I was pretty excited about that. Yeah. And so I went there and had to figure out how to make movies for the masses instead of just movies for me. Yeah, so that's what I did. So anyway, yeah, I became a studio executive, and the money and the opportunity we were just treated like pampered brats. Everyone had a fancy car. Everyone had expense accounts. If you wanted to go and have a meeting with so-and-so in London, you get on that plane. And so I was very happy about that freedom. But that I also knew that being an executive, I had to do things differently. I had to be the first to get a script, a good, that like, oh, someone's going out and a spec script. What that means is that there's a very good writer who has written a script for free. Okay, it's ready to go. And they're putting it out into the marketplace. They're sending it to all the studios. So how do you compete? How do you get that script? How do you be not only how do you get the studio to win the script, how do you be the one in the studio to get that script? Yeah, so then I was an independent producer, and I got a deal at Sony, which I said, don't you guys hate me? You're going to give me a deal? They were like, yeah, you're a nut, but come on over. Because I was always, it's the passion wins. If you're passionate about stuff, I think that's what makes you the winner.
I agree with that. It certainly helps you become a winner.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And stay one.
Yeah.
When the passion diminishes, time to go.
Yes.
A relationship, a job.
I agree.
Yeah.
If it's done, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how about your relationships during all this time?
Well, that's interesting.
Did you have time to have a relationship?
No, but I had them,
Huh?
because I was like, hey, get a load of this. Our
Mhm.
life will be exciting. We'll be very busy. We'll travel with movie stars. But really, I didn't know that I had anything to offer. I didn't really know myself well enough to know that I even was valuable to. I thought I just had things to offer.
So in closing, what is it that you would like people to remember about you after you're dead?
But my curiosity.
Okay.
Okay. The curiosity is good. Basically find joy in the world. You just got to be joyful. That's really what our goal is. And that I'm funny.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it. What else?
The things that your legacy, I think we're creating legacies here because I'm finding people really want to share themselves.
Sure. Well, I'm surprised at all the stories I told you now. Like, what?
We know each other, so it's a little easier.
I know. Yeah.
And I value your stories and we value each other. But
Yes.
that's a great legacy.